The Navy SEAL gym was never quiet. Weights clanged, men shouted, sweat hit the floor. But on this day, the loudest sound came from a single voice. Sharp, arrogant, and aimed at an old janitor with a broom. "Are you deaf, old man?" I said, "Move it." The young SEAL was built like a wall of muscle, his confidence filling the room. The janitor? Just a wiry 70-year-old, sweeping the edge of the mats. No rank. No uniform. No reason, it seemed, to challenge a warrior. But when the old man finally turned his pale blue eyes on the SEAL, the entire gym felt it. The spark of something no one expected. Because this janitor wasn't who they thought he was. And before the day was over, every man in that room would learn a truth that shook them to their core. The young SEAL stepped closer, shadow falling over the old janitor. "Hey, I'm talking to you." "Move it," he snapped. Vernon Ford didn't flinch. He kept sweeping, the rhythmic scrape of his broom the only reply. Slate, the SEAL, wasn't used to being ignored. His jaw tightened. "This isn't a nursing home. We need the mats. Move somewhere else." Vernon straightened slowly, each movement deliberate, each vertebra clicking into place. He was 70, but his presence, quiet, steady, felt heavier than Slate's muscle-bound arrogance. The gym went still. Everyone noticed. The young warriors expected compliance. They expected fear. Instead, Vernon met Slate's gaze. Calm. Unshakable. "You didn't hear me?" Slate shouted. Vernon finally spoke, raspy but firm. "The floor needs sweeping. Keeps the dust down. Better for breathing when you're exerting yourself." The logic, the civility, it enraged Slate. He shoved the broom. It clattered to the floor. Vernon bent down, retrieved it, and straightened again. No anger. Just a quiet, measured patience. The gym held its breath. Something was brewing. And that something wasn't just about a broom or a gym floor. It was about history, honor, and a legacy that even Slate couldn't imagine. Vernon bent down, his hand steady on the broom. For a fleeting moment, the collar of his uniform shifted, revealing the back of his neck. There it was, a faded tattoo, almost lost to time. A black trident, coiled with a serpent. Its lines blurred, but the design was unmistakable. Slate didn't notice. He was too consumed with his own dominance, too focused on proving his strength. But across the gym, Master Chief Thorne's eyes narrowed. He had seen that symbol before, not in person, but in old, grainy photographs of a long-forgotten era. The trident and serpent weren't just a tattoo. They were a mark of the underwater demolition teams, the original frogmen. Men who swam into enemy harbors, planting explosives, clearing the way for invasions. And the specific coiling of the serpent? It signified something even rarer. Something whispered about in legends. A unit known only to a few, a ghost team erased from the books. The gym's usual chaos faded into silence. No one saw it yet, but the quiet janitor wasn't just a janitor. He was a survivor of a story most believed was impossible. Slate smirked, unaware, and stepped forward again. But the weight of history was in the air now. And something told everyone watching that this confrontation was about to become far more than just a petty argument. Vernon's eyes, pale blue and calm, seemed to drift somewhere far away. The fluorescent lights of the gym faded, replaced by the dim glow of a smoky tent on a remote island. He was barely 20 then, sitting on a wooden crate, shivering in the humid, salty air. Around him, older men moved silently, seasoned by battle and hardened by impossible missions. A grizzled chief approached, holding a small kit. No words about medals, no promises of recognition. Only a task, a mission that would be erased from every official record. With a needle, he etched the trident and coiled serpent onto Vernon's neck. A pact. A promise. A symbol of their unity, their courage, their deadly purpose. Each man in that small, specialized unit bore the same mark, an invisible badge of honor the world would never know. They were ghosts. Sent into enemy harbors with nothing but knives and handmade explosives, no breathing apparatus, under freezing waters. If they failed, no one would ever acknowledge them. If they died, their bodies would vanish without a trace. Vernon survived. The sole man to return to friendly lines. And that tattoo, faded by decades, was the last living testament of a mission so secret, so deadly, it had become a legend whispered only in select circles. Back in the gym, the present Preston again. Slate, puffed with pride and arrogance, was still oblivious. But Thorne, Master Chief Petty Officer, recognized it instantly. The quiet janitor was walking proof of history itself, a man who had lived, and survived, what others only read about in secret files. Vernon's eyes, pale blue and calm, seemed to drift somewhere far away. The fluorescent lights of the gym faded, replaced by the dim glow of a smoky tent on a remote island. He was barely 20 then, sitting on a wooden crate, shivering in the humid, salty air. Around him, older men moved silently, seasoned by battle and hardened by impossible missions. A grizzled chief approached, holding a small kit. No words about medals, no promises of recognition. Only a task, a mission that would be erased from every official record. With a needle, he etched the trident and coiled serpent onto Vernon's neck. A pact. A promise. A symbol of their unity, their courage, their deadly purpose. Each man in that small, specialized unit bore the same mark, an invisible badge of honor the world would never know. They were ghosts. Sent into enemy harbors with nothing but knives and handmade explosives, no breathing apparatus, under freezing waters. If they failed, no one would ever acknowledge them. If they died, their bodies would vanish without a trace. Vernon survived. The sole man to return to friendly lines. And that tattoo, faded by decades, was the last living testament of a mission so secret, so deadly, it had become a legend whispered only in select circles. Back in the gym, the present Preston again. Slate, puffed with pride and arrogance, was still oblivious. But Thorne, Master Chief Petty Officer, recognized it instantly. The quiet janitor was walking proof of history itself, a man who had lived, and survived, what others only read about in secret files. Slate's smirk didn't fade. If anything, it hardened. He thought he could still assert dominance, show the old man his place. Maybe we should get you a new uniform, he jeered, loud enough for the surrounding SEALs to hear. A bib, maybe, in case you drool. A few of the younger SEALs laughed, feeding off his arrogance. But Vernon didn't react. He just straightened, broom in hand, eyes calm yet piercing. Across the gym, Master Chief Thorne's gaze sharpened. He had seen enough cocky young warriors to recognize when arrogance bordered on stupidity. And right now, Slate was flirting with danger, completely unaware of the storm his words had stirred. Vernon raised a hand subtly, a gesture almost imperceptible. Thorne stopped in his tracks, understanding immediately. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was a moment suspended between the past and the present, between history and ignorance. Slate leaned in, eyes glinting with challenge. Careful, old man, he taunted. Dust can't be good for you. Don't want you taking a spill. The gym held its collective breath. The arrogance of youth versus the weight of legend. No one knew what would happen next, but everyone knew that the janitor wasn't ordinary. And when Commander Jacobs finally arrived, the air would crack with a revelation no one could ignore. The gym doors slammed open, echoing like a gunshot. Every head snapped toward the entrance. Commander Jacobs appeared, flanked by 2 Marines in full dress uniform. Their presence alone froze the room. This wasn't a casual inspection, it was authority incarnate. Jacob's eyes locked on Vernon Ford. Not Slate. Not Thorne. Just the old janitor, broom in hand. The room seemed to shrink around them, the weight of the moment pressing down. He snapped his heels together, delivering a crisp, perfect salute, a gesture reserved for legends, not janitors. Vernon's eyes met his, and the gym went utterly silent. Mr. Ford, Jacob said, voice steady, resonant, filled with respect. I want to personally apologize for the disrespect shown to you in this facility. Slate froze. His arrogance faltered. Confusion and disbelief painted his face. Thorne, standing nearby, allowed himself a faint nod of vindication. Jacobs lowered his salute but kept his gaze locked on Vernon. Then, he announced it to the entire gym. This is Vernon Ford. Before he was a janitor, he was a frogman, a member of a naval combat demolition unit during the Korean War. He was part of Operation Mako, a mission so secret, so dangerous, it was erased from the books. The words hung in the air. Every SEAL, young and old, felt the room shift. The quiet janitor was not just a veteran, he was a living legend. Slate's jaw tightened, realization dawning slowly. He had mocked a man who had walked through hell and returned. And the world he thought he knew, the hierarchy, the dominance, the bravado, suddenly seemed insignificant. Vernon Ford had swum into freezing, pitch-black waters with nothing but knives and handmade explosives strapped to his body. No breathing gear. No support. Just sheer skill, courage, and the weight of a mission that would never be acknowledged. Operation Mako was nearly impossible. Their goal: disable submarine nets and mine clusters in the harbor at Wonsan, North Korea, ahead of the main invasion. The team of 3 moved silently through icy water, evading detection, planting explosives with precise timing. 2 of his comrades never returned. Vernon emerged alone, exhausted and frostbitten, the sole survivor of a mission erased from official history. He had been awarded the Navy Cross, but quietly, secretly. No ceremony. No public recognition. His heroism existed only in whispers and hidden files. Commander Jacobs' words cut through the stunned Jim. This man risked everything, his life, his body, his very existence, for a mission no one could ever know. And he did it without hesitation. He deserves our utmost respect. The SEALs, once laughing, now stood frozen. Slate's smirk had vanished, replaced by pale shock and dawning shame. Even the younger recruits understood, in that moment, that real strength isn't measured in muscle or bravado. Vernon's eyes remained calm, distant, yet carrying the weight of decades of sacrifice. The broom in his hands wasn't just a tool. It was a reminder that dignity, courage, and honor outlast fame, medals, and arrogance. And for Slate, for every other young warrior in that room, the lesson was crystal clear. True valor doesn't announce itself. It waits, quiet, enduring, unrecognized, until it cannot be ignored. Slate's face burned with shame. The arrogance that had filled the room moments ago had evaporated, replaced by the harsh realization of his ignorance. Commander Jacobs' voice cut through the silence. You, petty officer, are a disgrace to your uniform. You mistake arrogance for strength and age for weakness. Slate's eyes widened. No words could mask the shock. Thorne stepped forward, escorting him with quiet authority. A formal written apology would be issued. But more than that, he would spend weeks understanding the history he had mocked. Vernon didn't speak to Slate, not immediately. His eyes carried decades of experience, pain, and a quiet wisdom. And then, finally, he said, steady and measured. Respect isn't in the uniform you wear. It's in how you wear it. He gestured subtly to his broom. There's no shame in any job, as long as you do it with dignity. Slate, humbled, absorbed every word. This wasn't punishment, it was a lesson in real strength. And it wasn't just for him. Every man in that gym felt it. The lesson was clear: true courage, honor, and valor aren't measured by muscles, ranks, or bravado. They're measured in sacrifice, quiet dedication, and lifting others up, no matter the cost. Weeks later, the gym had returned to its usual rhythm. Weights clanged, SEALs trained, and the hum of effort filled the air. But something had changed. Respect had been redefined, and legends walked among them quietly, unnoticed until now. Slate approached Vernon at the end of his shift, voice low, almost a whisper. Mr. Ford. I wanted to apologize. What I did, it was wrong. Vernon looked at him, really looked, and saw genuine remorse. He nodded once, a small gesture carrying decades of understanding. "We all make mistakes, son," he said. "Be a better man tomorrow than you were today." He patted Slade on the shoulder and walked away, broom in hand. Silent, unassuming, yet carrying the weight of heroism that no medal or ceremony could ever capture. The faded tattoo on Vernon's neck glimmered faintly under the gym lights, a testament to courage, sacrifice, and a life lived in service without need for recognition. For the SEALs, the lesson lingered. Strength wasn't just physical. Valor wasn't always visible. And respect was earned by the quiet, the brave, and the unassuming. Vernon swept on, as he had for years, a hero hidden in plain sight. But now, everyone who had witnessed him that day would carry his story with them. A reminder that true greatness often wears no uniform.